Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a really high-stakes global tech rivalry. It's where American security is clashing, well, not just with a determined adversary, China, but also, maybe surprisingly, with some of our own big corporate players. We're going to dive into this intense U.S.-China tech war. We'll look at how American companies are deeply involved and the urgent, really complex questions this whole situation raises for, well, for our national future. Okay, so let's try to unpack this a bit. The main driver, the core reason for the U.S. policy shifts against China, it seems pretty clear: national security. Our sources are showing that China's military, the PLA, is modernizing incredibly fast.
Yeah, alarming speed, really.
Right. And pouring huge amounts of money into artificial intelligence, into AI. Their stated goal, it's pretty blunt, to fight and win wars against a strong enemy.
And let's be clear, that strong enemy reference, that's us.
That's us, exactly. Some experts we looked at are even warning China might be surging ahead already in this AI arms race. And what makes this especially tricky is Beijing's strategy. They call it civil-military fusion.
Right, the fusion strategy.
Which basically means all technology, doesn't matter if it starts civilian or military, it gets funneled, pipeline directly to the PLA.
So the lines are just completely blurred. There's almost no distinction in practice.
Totally erased.
And here's where it gets, well, fascinating, but also quite concerning. It's the direct role our own companies are playing in this. It might surprise you to learn that major U.S. firms, think Intel, Nvidia, Xilinx.
Household names, really.
Exactly. They design a huge portion of the advanced computer chips, the very things that are like the heart, the brains of China's military AI systems.
Wow.
And it doesn't even stop there. We're also seeing U.S.-based venture capital firms.
VC money.
Yeah, VC money financing Chinese companies. And these aren't just any companies. They're ones supplying the PLA with critical software for things like battle management and cybersecurity.
So funding the other side's capabilities, essentially.
It certainly looks that way. And one source specifically pointed out Google. Now, Google famously refused to work with our own Defense Department on certain AI projects.
I remember that controversy.
Right. But this source indicates Google is actively helping China's military in this same critical field. One person described that situation simply as hideous.
That is a pretty stark contrast, isn't it?
It is.
And it leads straight to a really powerful criticism you hear, that these companies, maybe many of them, are prioritizing their bottom lines, their profits, without much regard for the broader American economy or, crucially, our national security.
And this continues even while Beijing is involved in gross human rights violations, things that are widely documented.
Right. And China, meanwhile, seems pretty adept at exploiting gaps in regulations.
Oh, absolutely.
Take that example of the Chinese AI company, DeepSeek. Our sources show they made extensive use of Nvidia's H800 chip.
Which was, and this is key, specifically designed, almost cleverly, to fall just outside the threshold of U.S. export controls.
So like a workaround, a loophole built into the chip design itself.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It allowed advanced tech to slip through the net that was intended to stop it. So this obviously raises a huge question. What are the consequences here? And, what's the U.S. doing in response?
Right. What's the pushback?
Well, the U.S. has acted. They've imposed some pretty strict restrictions on exporting semiconductor technology, and they've placed major Chinese companies like Huawei, for example, on what's called the Entity List.
Which basically blacklists them from getting key U.S. tech, right?
That's the idea. And historically, looking back a bit, President Trump also raised tariffs significantly on Chinese goods, way up, like 125, 145% in some cases.
And his reasoning?
He cited what he called China's lack of respect and accused them of ripping off the USA.
Okay, so that's the U.S. side. How does China react to all this pressure?
Well, China has its own aggressive counter-strategy. Their stated aim is, quote, steal as much as it can.
Wow, just blatant.
Pretty direct. And they're backing it up with massive investment, trillions poured into national initiatives like Made in China 2025. They're also actively recruiting top talent, researchers from the West, trying to lure them over.
So it's a race for talent, too.
Absolutely. And one important caveat to our controls. While they are vital, China already has stockpiles of many of these advanced chips acquired before the restrictions fully kicked in.
Ah, so the impact isn't immediate.
Exactly. It delays the butt of the sanctions, giving them a window, potentially, to keep advancing or find alternatives.
So, okay, wrapping this up, what does all this really mean for you just watching this incredibly complex global chess match play out?
Well, it seems clear we face a very determined adversary in China. An adversary whose technological ambitions are being directly fueled, maybe sometimes inadvertently, maybe not, by the pursuit of profit from some major Western corporations. Yeah, and if you connect this to the sort of the bigger picture, it forces us to ask some hard questions, doesn't it? In this really critical moment, I mean, global tech leadership feels like it's truly up for grabs. And these lines between corporate profit and national security are just so incredibly blurred. What kind of clear policies, what accountability measures must we start demanding to make sure America's technological edge and ultimately our freedom aren't
It
compromised?
really feels like a pivotal time.
It does. It feels like it could be a now or never moment for some decisive action and clarity.